want to break down Apollo.io. Really, such an OG in the outbound space in general. It's a great tool for contact enrichment. So pulling lists of however many contacts really you want. I think it might be capped at 5,000. Not sure though. But just getting tons of really enriched contacts. You can use it for sequencing, like sending emails, sending LinkedIn. Their LinkedIn automation, isn't the best tool available. But Apollo's a great tool. You can use it in a lot of different ways. Head to apollo.io. Here you can see their pricing. Really, this is going to come down to the amount of credits that you need. Credits are what are used when you're exporting the list. Say if you want to export contacts to like another tool, another sending tool for LinkedIn or email. Um, that's where these credits are going to come into play, as well as like users, how many emails you have. But you can start with the free version to get started. So diving straight into Apollo, the first thing really let's look at is let's get a contact, right? So let's just say we're targeting fintech companies that have raised or Series A at least or Series B, um, founders of fintech companies in New York City, right? That maybe want to buy a sales enablement tool, something like that. So I'm going to walk through how we're going to use Apollo to accomplish that, to get contacts within the target market like that. And then we can walk through, I'll break down like how you add an email to actually automate emails, and then we'll walk through automating LinkedIn as well. So I've logged into apollo.io. Here you can see on the left, and by the way, I have mine in dark mode. Um, you're going to see the left kind of filters or headings. I'm going to choose companies, right? Because we first want to find the types of companies, and then we're going to find the types of people within those companies. So the first filter that I want to focus on is a location. So I'm going to go ahead and type in New York City because we mentioned we were going to target companies in New York City. And as you can see here, it's going to show us how many companies we're working with as we're going through the filters, right? So I'm going to just click on Net New because I want to get new companies for this list. The next thing I would typically, filter for is employee size. So I know that like Series B, or might be around the, let's say like 20 to 200 range. At that range, that size, I think that there's companies, still out there, and these are typically startups, right? That might not have like an in-depth outbound customer acquisition strategy set up or in place. Um, and they might have the strategy, they just might not be implementing correctly, right? So now you can see we have 22,000 companies that are in New York City that have 20 to 200 employees. So next is industry and keywords, right? This is really key. Um, this is essentially what the industries that we're going to target, right? It's really key here to use keywords as well. Key to use keywords. That's weird. Um, but let's see what they have in terms of industries. So I'm going to type in finance. Bear with me here as Apollo does take a minute sometimes. It is a really big product. So it looks like it's searching through industries. Hmm. Sorry, guys. Bear with me here. Got to get back into industry and keywords. Very buggy. Very buggy indeed. And this really is like my number one gripe with Apollo at this point. Like sometimes it just the lagginess with the product is a little bit annoying. I don't know if it's like my computer, but I often have issues with the lagginess of just the product in general. Anyway, I've typed in financial services. That's not really what I'd be wanting to target, so I'm going to use keywords and just try fintech, right? Um, so that's brought us down to 171 companies. Fintech connector. Seems like some of these are like associations. So I'm going to look at keywords. I don't want to really target venture capital. I want like technology, right? So for keywords that we do want, I just typed in technology. And I might remove fintech as a keyword because I feel like let's see what technology gives us and where it gets us. Okay, so that opens it up to uh, 668 companies. I'm going to go ahead and do exclude keywords, and I'm going to do venture capital because I'm really looking for like fintech startups, right? Fintech startup, that's a weird name. Financial services, blockchain, commercial real estate. What if we just focused on blockchain? As you can see, like Apollo is a great tool in early stages of outbound because it really makes you hone in on, keywords, types of companies, and get pretty specific because of the features they offer and in terms of like what types of companies and what types of people you want to target, right, for your outbound. Um, Look, we got 551 companies. I'm going through here. They all seem like just by the names, I can tell that there's some like fintech companies in here, um, like big data, Bitcoin, personal finance. Yeah. So, I mean, the personal finance might not be the best fit just because it seems like they're not going to want, you don't typically do outbound to, uh, D2C. Like we're really looking for fintech companies that are selling to other businesses, right? Um, So the other feature or filter feature here that Apollo offers that I really like is the buy intent triggers. So let's see if Apollo is going to work with me. Okay, so I'll click on buying intent and let's just click sales enablement software here. I already had set that, but if you want to like set a buy intent, you would just go to edit. And I believe buy intent is only available for certain like paid tiers on Apollo. I am not sure if it's available on the free version. But here's where you can type in like sales automation for or something like that. Let's see what they have. So they do have sales automation. So I just select it and click save, and it's going to add um, that buy intent trigger. And buy intent is essentially like what companies are looking for. Like if they're typing in sales enablement to, Google, for example, it's going to trigger that they're a buying intent, right? So out of the 551 companies, when we select sales enablement as a buy intent, looks like we have these companies, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select all, and at this point in Apollo, it's really great to save as a new search, right? So you could save this, just click save as new search, give it a name. and then save it because you don't want to have to do all of this filtering again. You're going to want to come back to this and just know that you have the sales enablement by intent on. And once you remove that, you have 500 companies that you can target. So, but I'm just going to go ahead and select all here because now I want to get the people, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and click find people. And as you can see, there's 290 people from here that we can work with, right? So let me just go to the filters over on the left side, and we're going to go through the filters on how I would filter out the types of people. I think we said um, founders, and you know what? I'm going to go back to the companies because I think we said we were sorry. I keep on having these momentary lapses. I think we should go back to companies because I believe we mentioned we were going to only go after a certain revenue size, although that is kind of covered in the company size that we were targeting, right? So um, let me see if I can just go back and see if it's going to keep the filters that we added. I didn't save it. Okay, it did keep the companies, but down here below buy intent, you can set up website visitors. So like you can with like RB2B or something like that. Anyone visiting your website, you can capture through Apollo and then target. Revenue we can set, but because I set the buy intent trigger, I'm not going to do it because I think these are lower hanging fruit. But when we were in the original group of 550 companies and if we didn't choose the buy intent, I might want to do like a minimum revenue of like, I don't know, $500,000 a year, right? Another way to kind of get a gauge on this would be funding. So like, are they a series A, series B? Looks like, maybe some of these haven't raised money or it's just not listed here. And another really cool thing with just like the filters with companies is job postings. Like, are they hiring for a head of sales, right? So again, maybe I wouldn't do this now just because we've narrowed it down to pretty seven kind of low hanging fruit companies. But if we were working off the original 550 list, I would definitely like look for companies that had certain job postings, like for head of sales, right? So kind of same thing here. Just wanted to point those out. I'm going to go back and select all. I'm going to find people. And then for the people, you can further eliminate the companies. Like if you see that there's like people within companies that you don't want, you can use the filters for people as well to kind of narrow it down even more. But the first thing I'm going to do is email status, right? Because if we're emailing them, you want their email to be verified, right? So I'm going to go ahead and click verified. Um, an instance where you wouldn't do this is if you're only doing LinkedIn, right? Because you can for every contact that you download here, you're also going to get their LinkedIn URL. So and you can see it eliminated like 100 people. So that's if you're doing LinkedIn, you don't necessarily have to click verified, but it is a feature that I wanted to point out with Apollo. So you know, up to you on that one. Next one is job titles, right? So I mean, safe to say that at this company size, we might want to just reach out to founders, right? Maybe founders or like a sales title, depending how many founders there are. I think there were only 7 companies, so we're not going to get many. Bear with me while Apollo loads up. Don't die on me now. So while this job title is loading, it's normally not this slow. I apologize that you guys are having to bear with me through this. But so there's job titles, and then so if you type in, like something super vague like operations, you're gonna want to use the management level, right? Because maybe you only want directors and above within companies. Obviously, if you're targeting specific people, like if you have a geographic, like local campaign that you want to run, like, hey, saw you're based in city, thought we should connect, something like that. That's where you might want to use a location. And again, you can redo the company filters as well, right? Looks like it's loaded, so I'm going to go ahead and click founder, and it's going to give me just the founders within those 7 companies. So here, we have 2 founders, right? Um, Maybe let's do a sales title, a general sales, and then just use the management level that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so it looks like there's 6. So director, sales. See, we don't want a sales associate, right? Um, Not trying to be title. uh, no disrespect, but okay. So there's a couple founders, 1 VP, 1 head, 3 directors, right? So I'm just gonna go ahead and select all of those. Hopefully not overloading the system here. With so little people, it just honestly would have been faster just to highlight, select all, and then unselect the one associate I think there was. Anyway, um, we definitely want the founders. When you're dealing with thousands of people in your list, that becomes pretty nice. Anyway, so looks like a pretty good list, right? I mean, we have 4 people from the same company, so I'm gonna go ahead and just select all and apply. And I might want to, like, I don't know if I want to reach out to the head of inside sales, um, director of biz dev, probably. Maybe we cap it to like how many people? What, 2 people from the same company? So the next thing is you can either add these directly to a sequence, right? I'll break up I'll quickly go through sequencing, or you can export, right? But really, this segment just wanted to focus on how we're getting the right people from the right companies. So we've gone through filters, like filtering out companies and the right people, and then you're either exporting them to a new list to where you're going to add it to another tool where you're just uploading the CSV, really simple, or you're adding directly to a sequence, which we can go through now. So we're gonna go ahead and just we'll add to a new sequence. So we'll go from scratch, and this is where I'll quickly go through like the sequencing and how to set up a sequence in Apollo, and then we can just quickly connect an email, and I'll go through a bit of LinkedIn as well. But let's just do test sequence, or no, we'll do fintech founders, NYC, sales enablement by intent. Cool. So it's going to go ahead and create the sequence, and it's going to add uh, the sequence, or add these contacts to um, that sequence. And sometimes if you are adding a LinkedIn touch point, like as the first touch point, um, just go ahead and get all records, right? So you're capturing those folks that are missing email, so you can still hit them on LinkedIn as well. I probably should have done that and left the email verified check mark unchecked, just so I can show you what that looks like in a sequence, because you'd still be able to get them on LinkedIn, but you just wouldn't email them, right? If your sequence is setting up an email touch point and then an email, for example. Cool. So here is sequencing. So it's added the contacts to this sequence. On the left-hand side, we just went through companies, people. We could have saved those contacts to a specific list. Lists can be a valuable feature in Apollo as well. Um, but here, sequences were in this uh, set stage right here, stage, I don't know, and sequences on the left. So go ahead and let's just do a LinkedIn send connection request, because we'll walk through what that looks like in here as well. Um, and this is really key. Like if you're on a free version, just don't add a note. If you have LinkedIn Sales Nav or any premium LinkedIn version, you can add a note, right? So like, hi, first, I think it's first name, as a dynamic field, or just leave it, hi, first name, saw you're in NYC, curious if you're still looking for a sales, looking for help scaling. Uh, I don't know. That's a pretty bad message. I'd have to spend some more time thinking about it. But anyway, adding a note is how you're going to add that note to the connection request. If you don't want to send a message, just go ahead and just click save. Oh, wait, here's the body of what would be said. Hi. I was wondering before when it was like, oh, they're not going to help me with the dynamic fields. Exactly. So, hi, first name, you know, if we would have gone by like raised or like job posting, you could be, hey, saw you're hiring for a sales role. Let's chat before you do. I've scaled, you know, multiple fintechs in NYC. Let me explain. Something like that. In a LinkedIn connection request, it's typically good to send a question, but that message could work. I'm just going to go ahead and just send no message. Go ahead and add a step. We're not going to A/B test anything. We're going to do an automatic email 3 days after the connection request. Let's click on here. So this isn't really relevant, but I'll show you what this reply to previous thread means. Go ahead and add a subject. You know, always good if it's a question. Add a message here. Just save. Let's A/B test, right? Always good to A/B test. And then when we want to, so you'll just click add A/B test, add another subject, maybe with the same body. Add 3 different subjects, test subjects first. Then let's add another step. We want to do another email, right? Let's just do this one 2 days. We'll click continue. And we want this one to reply to the previous thread. We don't want it to be a standalone email, right? We want it to be a follow-up to the last email that we sent. We'll just go ahead and click save there. Cool. I'm just going to click on the contacts. We should have 5 contacts in here. They should be paused. All right. And let's go ahead and just go through how we're going to just send this, because it's really ready to send. We'll just we'll click my name at the bottom here. let's go to, I know we can get manage plan. So I clicked on manage plan and then clicking on mailboxes, right? So we can add you're going to have to add an email here to make sure that you can actually send from a specific email. So I'll unlink this one just so I can relink it and show that process. But you're just going to click link uh, mailbox, click this was a Gmail address, do it through Outlook if you have one. I'm going to click mile@revgen.live, continue. I'm going to select all and I will continue. I don't really use Apollo much for sending. I do use it a lot for like the contacts. I think it's a great way to get some pretty good contacts. Um, but for sending, it's just you can use it for emails. We'll go through um, the LinkedIn automation, and you may be able to see why I don't necessarily use it for the LinkedIn automation, but um, it still works, right? So at this point, we have set up the sequence. We've added contacts to it. We have LinkedIn email. You're ready to send automated messages at this point, automated emails. So I'll just go back to sequences. Bear with me. If we can ever get it to load. And we would just activate this sequence. I just went ahead and clicked on it. We can go to settings. Here's where you're going to set the schedule. Change up the schedule when you can, like probably once a week. That's always helpful. Um, and you're good to go. Just go ahead and activate the sequence and it will start sending. So next now we'll go over just the LinkedIn automation part of this. Let's just go ahead and I've signed into LinkedIn. We're going to need to download a Chrome extension. So I'm going to go to Visit Chrome Web Store. We need the Apollo extension to send um, to do anything on LinkedIn, which is a little annoying. But as you can see, I typed in apollo.io. I found this extension right here. I've downloaded it. Maybe now let's go to, let me see here. Still loading, I believe. There we go. It's on here. Let's put it up. Let us go here. There we go. Let me just open this up. So now I'm clicking. Essentially, what happened was this populated here after clicking the extension a couple times. So I'm just going to click here, go to tasks, and we should see all of the people that were added to the sequence. So I'm just going to select all, and we'll go ahead and execute all these tasks. We'll click start 8 tasks, and now you're going to see how LinkedIn's automation feature actually executes the connection requests. Hopefully they update this soon, because there's a lot of tools that do this way more efficiently. I'm not sure. This has never been something that Apollo is really focused on. Um, but you'll see it's now, this looks like actually folks from a previous sequence that it's executing, because that is definitely not a founder of a fintech company. So I guess just be aware of that as as before you click execute all. But it will continue to move through each contact. So you'll just leave your computer, I guess, while this is happening. Um, it didn't execute that task, I don't think, because there's a pending connection request already. But as you can see, you know, it's going through step by step and executing all the tasks. So, we've been through sequencing, getting companies, getting the people from the right companies, adding them to a sequence, executing the sequence. And after all of these are actually executed, it will start sending the email sequence as well. So you might want to add a step with another LinkedIn touch point, execute there, or call. But that is, a quick walkthrough of Apollo. So thanks so much for the time.